The mistake. The Zephyr, Earth's premier diplomatic vessel, glided through the star-studded darkness of space, its hull gleaming under the light of distant suns. Inside, Ambassador Ilara Chen reviewed her notes one final time, her slender fingers tapping nervously against the datapad. "The Galactic Council has never taken humanity seriously," said Commander Morgan Reeves, her security advisor, standing with arms crossed near the viewport. The stars reflected in his eyes as he studied the approaching space station, a massive structure of gleaming silver and blue that housed the representatives of over 300 species. "They see us as newcomers, barely worth their attention." Ilara smiled, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "That's precisely why this delegation matters, Morgan. We need to show them we're ready for a seat at the table. What we need is to show them we're not to be trifled with," Morgan muttered, the scars on his face tightening as he frowned. "That's why you're security and I'm diplomacy." Ilara laughed, rising from her chair with the grace that had made her Earth's most effective ambassador. "We balance each other." Morgan's expression softened. "Just be careful in there. These aliens don't play by the same rules we do." "Diplomacy is a universal language," she replied, gathering her materials. "Even if we have different hands to shake with." The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with delegates from across the galaxy seated in concentric rings around a central platform. The air shimmered with translation fields, and the soft murmur of hundreds of species communicating filled the space. Ilara stood tall as she entered, feeling the weight of Earth's future on her shoulders. The 7 elders, ancient beings who chaired the council, observed her approach with expressions ranging from mild curiosity to undisguised contempt. Elder Ictorix, a crystalline entity that pulsed with inner light, spoke first. "The representative from Earth may present her petition." Ilara stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "Esteemed elders, honored delegates, Earth comes seeking not favors, but partnership. For 50 years, humanity has navigated the stars, established peaceful colonies, and traded fairly with all who would meet us in good faith." She continued outlining Earth's accomplishments, its growing fleet, its technological innovations. Some delegates listened with interest, others with obvious boredom. The elders remained impassive. "We believe the time has come for Earth to join the Council as a full member, with all rights and responsibilities thereof," Ilara concluded. "We bring fresh perspectives to age-old problems, and a willingness to stand for the collective good of all sapient life." A moment of silence followed, broken by Elder Voss, a gelatinous being whose translucent body housed visible organs and neural networks. "The human speaks well," it acknowledged, its voice resonating directly in the minds of all present. "But speeches change nothing. Earth remains young, untested." "Untested?" Ilara questioned respectfully. "We have weathered first contact, interstellar travel, and integration into the galactic economy. We have mediated disputes between the Procyon Collective and the T'Kari Dominion. What test remains?" A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Elder Matka, a towering insectoid with compound eyes that reflected the chamber in hundreds of tiny images, clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. "Perhaps the human raises a valid point. Earth has shown adaptability." Elder Ictorix pulsed with annoyed light. "They remain primitive. Their emotional responses make them unpredictable, dangerous." "With respect," Ilara countered, "our emotions are also the source of our creativity, our compassion, our—" The shot came without warning. A beam of concentrated energy lanced through the chamber, striking Ilara mid-sentence. For a moment, she stood frozen, eyes wide with shock. A small hole burned through her chest. Then she collapsed, her diplomatic materials scattering across the platform. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Security forces materialized from hidden alcoves. Morgan Reeves broke through the barrier, cradling Ilara's body, his face twisted with rage and grief. "Who did this?" he roared, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. "Who?" The elders remained in their seats, watching the scene with varying degrees of concern and detachment. Elder Xorix's light pulsed rapidly in what might have been alarm. Elder Voss's neural networks flashed with activity. Elder Matka simply clicked its mandibles. Regrettable, Elder Voss finally said, its voice calm in everyone's minds. Security will investigate. The Council extends condolences to Earth. Condolences? Morgan spat, looking up from Ilara's still form. You just witnessed the assassination of Earth's ambassador on Council ground during a formal petition, and all you offer are condolences. Elder Xorix pulsed dismissively. These things happen. Political passions run high. The Council cannot be responsible for every disgruntled faction or individual with access to weapons. Morgan's eyes narrowed. You think this was random? This was a targeted kill, executed with military precision. Your speculation is noted. Elder Matka clicked. But ultimately irrelevant. The petition is concluded for today. Earth may appoint a new representative in due time. The council chamber began to empty, delegates filing out with murmurs and whispers, many casting curious glances at the human cradling his dead ambassador. The elders disappeared into their private chambers without another word. Morgan sat alone with Ilara's body, his combat-trained mind racing through implications and possibilities. He activated his secure comlink. Earth Command, this is Reeves. Ambassador Chen is dead. Assassinated during her address to the council. He paused, his eyes hard as steel. The council is dismissing it. Either they're involved, or they don't care. Either way. He looked down at Ilara's peaceful face, remembering her belief in diplomacy and understanding. Either way, they just made the biggest mistake in their collective history. They killed the wrong human. 3 days later, the Zephyr departed the council station, bearing Ambassador Chen's body back to Earth. Morgan Reeves remained behind, ostensibly to handle diplomatic protocols until a replacement could be arranged. On Earth, emergency sessions of the United Nations Security Council and the Interstellar Defense Command convened. Intelligence reports were reviewed, options considered. The assassination of an ambassador, particularly during a formal council proceeding, was unprecedented. It was not merely a crime, it was a message. Admiral Helena Park, Director of Earth Defense, stood before the assembled leaders, her face grim. We have 3 options. First, we accept this as the cost of galactic politics and send another diplomat. Second, we withdraw from galactic affairs entirely and focus on building our defenses. Third, she paused, bringing up a holographic file. We send a message of our own. The image that appeared showed a man in his 40s, with close-cropped gray hair and eyes that seemed to look through rather than at the viewer. His official military record appeared alongside the image, heavily redacted. Commander Karen Vega, Admiral Park continued. Former Special Forces, former intelligence operative, currently serving as our liaison to the fringe territories. He specializes in unconventional problem-solving. He's a ghost, said the UN Secretary-General, studying the file. Half his record is blacked out. For good reason, Admiral Park replied. Commander Vega operates in spaces between official jurisdictions. He's the diplomat we send when diplomacy has failed but war is still avoidable. The Galactic Council has thousands of species under its umbrella, argued the Chinese representative. We cannot risk antagonizing them further. With respect, Admiral Park countered. They've already antagonized us by allowing our ambassador to be assassinated and then dismissing it as inconsequential. They're testing us. How we respond will determine humanity's place in the galaxy for generations. Silence fell as the implications sank in. Contact Commander Vega, the Secretary-General finally said. Tell him to show the Galactic Council exactly who they're dealing with. Across the galaxy, on a remote station at the edge of explored space, Karen Vega received the encrypted transmission. His weathered face revealed nothing as he reviewed the details of Ambassador Chen's death and the Council's response. "Understood," was his only reply. En route. As his personal ship prepared for departure, he accessed the Zephyr's records of the council chambers, studying the layout, the security measures, the delegates, and especially the 7 elders. He paid particular attention to their body language as Ambassador Chen was struck down. They didn't just kill a diplomat, he murmured to himself. They killed the wrong kind of human. The response. The council station hummed with activity as delegates from across the galaxy converged for the monthly General Assembly. Security had been tightened following the unfortunate incident with the Earth ambassador, but life in the galactic community continued with barely a pause. Commander Kieran Vega's arrival was remarkably unremarkable. He docked at a commercial bay rather than the diplomatic section, registered under a merchant license, and entered the station through the civilian processing center. No fanfare, no diplomatic entourage, not even a formal announcement to the council of his presence. His first stop was the station's central market, a sprawling maze of shops and stalls, where species from across the galaxy traded goods, services, and, most importantly, information. He moved with purpose but without haste, his nondescript attire blending with the crowds. At a small kiosk selling Arcturian tea, he made his first contact. The blend from the highlands, he told the 6-armed proprietor, the one that flowers twice. The Arcturian's eye stalks quivered slightly. A connoisseur, rare among humans. "I've developed specialized tastes," Vega replied, placing his payment on the counter, an outdated credit chip that would leave no digital trail. The proprietor swept it away and prepared the tea with practiced movements. "The flowering season brings many visitors to our world. Some welcome, some less so. And which am I?" "That depends on what you seek, human." Vega sipped the bitter tea without flinching. Information about an assassination. All 6 of the Arcturian's arms froze momentarily. Dangerous questions in dangerous times. The council's eyes are everywhere. "So are Earth's," Vega countered softly. The Arcturian leaned forward, voice barely audible even to Vega's enhanced hearing. The shot came from the Drathi delegation's box, but the weapon was Praxian manufacture. And the order? The alien hesitated. The order came from within the council itself. Vega nodded once, finished his tea, and left a generous tip. As he walked away, he activated a subdermal communicator embedded in his jaw. First piece confirmed. Moving to secondary location. Over the next 48 hours, Vega methodically worked his way through the station's underworld. He bribed maintenance workers, intimidated minor officials, and traded favors with information brokers. He visited gambling dens where council security personnel relaxed after their shifts and loosened their tongues with expensive intoxicants. A pattern emerged, one that confirmed his suspicions. On the 3rd day, as the council session was about to begin, Vega finally made his presence known. He bypassed the normal security checkpoints using credentials sliced from the system, walked directly into the council chamber, and took Ambassador Chen's former seat without invitation. The chamber fell silent as delegates noticed the human in their midst. Elder Xorix was the first to react, its crystalline form pulsing with indignant light. "Who permits this intrusion?" "Security." Vega remained seated, utterly calm. "My name is Commander Kieran Vega, representing Earth. I'm here to conclude Ambassador Chen's petition." "This is not protocol." Elder Matka clicked angrily. "Earth has sent no notification of a new ambassador." "I'm not an ambassador," Vega replied, his voice carrying throughout the chamber without assistance. "I'm a consequence." Elder Voss's gelatinous form rippled with neural activity. "Threats are not permitted in the council chamber." "Neither is assassination," Vega countered, "and yet here we are." Security forces began moving toward him, weapons ready. With deliberate movements, Vega placed a small device on the platform before him. It projected a holographic display visible to all. Security footage from dozens of angles around the council chamber, showing Ambassador Chen's final moments. "I've spent 3 days investigating what you dismissed in 3 minutes," Vega continued, manipulating the display to highlight specific details. The shooter's position in the Drathi delegation, the Praxian energy signature of the weapon, the communication signals exchanged just before the shot. He looked directly at the elders. But most interesting were the financial transactions that followed. 5 million credits transferred from an anonymous account to the shooter, who was conveniently found dead in his quarters hours later, and another 50 million distributed among accounts linked to 3 of the 7 elders. Gasps and murmurs swept through the chamber. The security forces halted, uncertain. Lies and fabrications. Elder Xorix pulsed angrily. This human seeks to destabilize the council with false accusations. Every piece of evidence has been simultaneously transmitted to all member worlds of the council, Vega replied calmly, along with Earth's formal declaration. Declaration of what? Elder Matka demanded. Accountability. Vega stood, his presence somehow filling the space despite his average height. Earth does not declare war. We don't seek revenge. We seek justice and transparency. He manipulated the holographic display again, showing detailed profiles of the 3 implicated elders, Sorix, Voss, and Terulian, a shadowy entity rarely seen in public. These 3 orchestrated the assassination to prevent Earth's admission to the Council. They feared our growing influence and our questioning of certain Council policies, particularly those involving resource extraction from developing worlds. Elder Voss's neural patterns flashed chaotically. You have no proof that would stand in any council court. We don't need your courts, Vega said. As of this moment, Earth has frozen all trade with council worlds. Our ships are turning back your vessels from our space. Our colonies are canceling resource contracts. A new wave of murmurs, more alarmed now. You cannot survive economic isolation. Elder Matka clicked dismissively. Perhaps not indefinitely, Vega acknowledged. But we can sustain it longer than the Council can withstand the scrutiny this evidence will bring. Already, 17 member worlds have contacted Earth expressing concerns about Council leadership. He faced the gathered delegates directly. Humanity doesn't want a war. We don't even want revenge. What we want is reform. The 3 responsible elders must step down and face independent investigation. The Council must establish transparent protocols for membership applications and decision-making, and Earth must be granted the seat it has earned. You demand much for a species so young. Elder Terulian spoke for the first time, its voice a hollow whisper. We learned quickly that in this galaxy, respect isn't granted. It's taken, Vega replied. You killed our diplomat because you thought we would send another. You thought humans were predictable, that we would follow protocol even after you violated it in the worst possible way. He smiled thinly. You killed the wrong human. For several long moments, silence reigned in the chamber. Then Elder Matka's mandibles clicked rapidly, their equivalent of a sigh. Perhaps, the insectoid elder said slowly, the Council has misjudged humanity's resolve. Negotiations lasted for weeks. Commander Vega remained on the station, a constant reminder of Earth's new stance. 3 elders resigned their positions, though they continued to proclaim their innocence even as investigators uncovered more evidence of their corruption. New procedures for council membership were drafted, debated, and eventually adopted. And exactly 1 month after Ambassador Chen's assassination, a new Earth representative took her seat on the council, not as a petitioner, but as a full member. Before departing the station, Vega visited a small memorial that had been erected in the chamber where Ilara Chen had fallen. He stood silently for a moment, then placed his hand against the cool metal plaque that bore her name. You were right, he murmured. Diplomacy is a universal language, but sometimes it needs to be spoken a bit more forcefully. As he walked away, delegates from a dozen worlds nodded respectfully in his direction. No one who had witnessed Earth's response would ever again mistake humanity's preference for peaceful solutions as weakness. In the darkness of space, the balance of power had shifted, not through superior weapons or technology, but through humanity's unique combination of principled resolve and adaptive strategy. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans make formidable friends and even more formidable enemies. They had indeed killed the wrong human.